Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Kathleen Morales, and today we're going to look at Research in a Nutshell, a guide to evidence types. As with any presentation, we do have learning objectives, but we only have 5 minutes, so we're going to keep it pretty simple. Speaking of simple, I'd like to refer you to a previous video I created called Introducing Evidence-Based Practice Using Internet Shopping. And here we'll take the task of buying a pair of running shoes online to the literature search, qualitative and quantitative data to inform our decision. Whenever I teach, I like to look at who, what, where, why, when, how to break it down simply. So who, our population, are those globally that share the characteristic. So if we were looking at pre-licensure nursing student, the population are all pre-licensure nursing students. Our sample are those who participate in our study. For what, we have two variables to consider. We have the independent variable, and in qualitative is the individual experiences, cultural factors, or social contexts that influence your phenomenon of interest. With quantitative, it's typically your intervention. So you can think about N for that. Dependent variables is the outcome measure we're interested in. Where we conduct the studies, we're qualitative, we tend to try to be in the naturalistic setting. So if we wanted to look at the role of diet and exercise on heart disease for goat herders in Zimbabwe, we would go to Zimbabwe and interview the goat herders. For quantitative, if we were just looking at diet and exercise, we could do this online. We could send a survey. We could do it in a lab. We could use social media. We could do data mining where we looked at medical records or some other large set of data to do a secondary analysis. When we do the study, we can take a retrospective approach, looking backwards. We can be concurrent here in the present, and typically you'll see the term cross-sectional. It's just like you took a pencil and broke it in two. You take the timeline and just snap it in two, and we're only looking at this moment in time. Or it could be prospective, looking ahead. So it might be a study that looked at predictors, for example. Why do we do the research? Because there's a gap in the literature. So when I have the undergraduate students do a literature review, a lot of times they're very proud and they'll say there were no gaps in the literature. It's like, well, then you can stop. There's no need to do the research. How we do it is still informed by that review of the literature. It is still evidence-based. So our assumptions, our proposed intervention, the things we're going to measure, still informed by the literature search. So it is evidence-based. How we collect the data for qualitative, it's semi-structured interviews, which can be face-to-face or virtual, or individually or focus groups. With quantitative, we will use a tool or instrument, and we want to make sure that it's a reliable tool, but it's consistent. And we do this through statistics called Cronbach's Alpha or the McDonald's Omega. And for validity, we want to make sure that this tool measures what it's supposed to measure. So if we want to measure confidence, but this tool measures comfort, it's not valid. So legal and ethical in a nutshell, we want to make sure that Simon said we could, right? IRB is Simon. We can do nothing till Simon says we can. Then the participant needs to say we can. We want to protect our subjects and either collect their data anonymously or confidentially. Anonymous meaning I can never track it back to them. Confidential meaning I could, but I will not disclose that. We want to protect their data, and we want to report any conflicts of interest, any disclosures or funding we received. CPGs are clinical practice guidelines. These are the opinions of experts. They're level 7 evidence on Labonda, Wood, and Haber scale because they're a secondary source. The qualitative, think of language. If it had a Care Bear, if it had a mascot, it'd be the Care Bears. So with qualitative, the data are words. We know our sample's large enough and we start hearing the same thing over and over, that saturation, and the results are reported as themes. Quantitative, think numbers. If it had a mascot, it'd be the count from Sesame Street. The data are numbers. We know our sample's large enough when we've conducted a power analysis. The results are reported as numbers, and we look for statistical significance, meaning a P of less than 0.05. Less than 5 times out of 100 could this have occurred simply by chance. Mixed methods combines the two. And if qualitative comes first and then the quantitative, it's exploratory. If the quantitative is first, followed by the qualitative, it's explanatory. Thank you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email me at kmorales@wesco.edu. Thank you.